The World Health Organization encourages hospitals in the country to admit only critical COVID-19 patients. That's after a number of Metro Manila's biggest hospitals declared full capacity in their virus wards. What does the WHO recommend for patients without symptoms and those with only mild symptoms? Remitio tells us more.
Local governments can house patients with mild cases in so-called isolation facilities for now. This is the recommendation of Dr. Rabindra Abeyasinghe, the representative of WHO in the country. He says LGUs can do this to free up hospitals overwhelmed with COVID-19 patients. Abeyasinghe explains patients with mild cases can still be treated in isolation facilities. This will ensure hospitals have enough beds and medicines for patients with critical COVID cases. He also says the country is not that rich and its health resources are also limited anyway. Abeyasinghe also explains many isolation facilities in provinces are still underutilized. Putting them in isolation facilities, he says, is better than placing them under home quarantine. He explains this will limit the virus from further spreading inside the household. Abeyasinghe adds many cases of transmissions are among relatives or household occupants. Meanwhile, Abeyasinghe says the country has a good response on the COVID-19 pandemic so far. The WHO Director General earlier said some countries are heading into wrong direction on their responses. Abeyasinghe was asked whether the Philippines is among the countries that have been responding wrong. He says the government's response has been improving despite the country's vast area and population. Abeyasinghe, however, notes the government must work even harder on its detection of COVID cases. This also goes for its isolation of COVID cases to limit the virus transmission in communities. Local governments must also publicize the areas identified as having community transmissions. The purpose of this is to alert residents so that they can avoid the areas with active transmission. More importantly, he's still urging us to always wash our hands, wear face masks, and practice physical distancing. Remitio, CNN Philippines.